talk about what is about to happen in Shiba Inu. If you're looking at this chart, you can actually see that we are nearing the closer to the top of this wedge right here. So it's a possibility we could be hitting the top of this wedge, which is at the Fibonacci of 8Z 2100 basically, but it's 2080. Well, not 8Z, but 4Z, 4 zeros after the decimal place. So up at this level at 20, that is exactly where it's probably going to end up either having a huge pullback here or continuing to run. And I'm willing to bet if Bitcoin continues to run, right? If Bitcoin goes up to 120K plus 125 and keeps it going, right? If Bitcoin actually keeps running, then from that point on, we could see Shiba Inu running if we could just get past this one level right here at 8Z, or I keep saying 8Z, but 4Z 2100. So 4 zeros after the decimal place. Remember, none of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But let's kind of take a look at some of the other things here that kind of show us where we're heading here with Shiba Inu. So first things first, all these little white lines, these are like micro and, just little micro support and resistance lines that I drew out so I could do day trades. But what we really want to look at here is what the MACD is doing here on the daily chart and also the RSI. So for one, the RSI has crossed all the way up here, right? That is what pushes us down. That is what caused the prices to drop. Well, not necessarily what caused, but this is the effect. When the price drops, the cause, whatever that cause was, and this is the effect. Right now, what we're seeing is us pulling back here inside of the RSI. There's a possibility that halfway down here, this RSI could cross, and then it could continue upwards, right? And the same thing goes for the MACD. There's a possibility, because you can see here that it's crossing and it's going downwards, but there's a possibility that it only prints out like 1 or 2 or 3 red candlesticks at most, and then they start going back into the green candlesticks, and then you see more purchasing and more volume coming in for SHIB. So either one of those scenarios could happen, but the scenario that is more likely to happen is going to be whatever Bitcoin does. Whatever Bitcoin does, everything's obviously going to follow that. So let's say it goes down to like 111K. Well, then you're probably going to end up seeing SHIB going down as well. You're probably not going to end up seeing it continuing, trying to get up here to 2100. You're probably going to actually end up seeing it going down to the bottom part of this, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that if we pull back even a little bit more, I think we're going to have a nice run up to 2100. So I think 2100 is probably going to be coming sooner than later. A lot of people aren't really ready for it because, they just seen the prices go down to 116K in Bitcoin. And I mentioned this in my Bitcoin video that I made earlier. And I mentioned what we can probably do here inside of Bitcoin. If you actually look at what Bitcoin is doing, it's kind of setting up here to go down a little bit lower, possibly to 111K. I mentioned that this is a major resistance for us, both here and here. And here we had major resistance and here. So that is a level of support that we could have at 111K. And this signal right here on the 4-hour chart is looking bearish. You can also see the RSI looking bearish as well. The MACD looking bearish as well. But we could easily see this reverse and starting to have green candlesticks coming in. I just feel like there's going to be this drop that brings us to 111K. That really gives us the momentum to push higher. So sideways movement, maybe a little bit of drops, but ultimately sideways movement could be what we're seeing for a little bit. But after that, I feel like it's going to be taken off. So that is just looking at Bitcoin on a 4-hour chart, and just look at this huge sell-off here. Huge sell-off, 119K all the way down to 115. So that was such a quick drop, but look at how quick the recovery is coming. I just think that the recovery needs to take a little bit longer. That's why I think it's a little bit better for us to look and aim towards 111K rather than, going all in right now just because you've seen a drop and then end up noticing that halfway up we go back down a little bit lower to like 111K. So that's something that people do have to realize, that 111K, maybe 108, 110K Bitcoin, it's probably more likely to happen, right? It's not just gonna take off and then just keep going up, 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 and never have pullbacks. We have to have these pullbacks. Pullbacks are healthy, and that's pretty much what we're seeing now, is just a healthy pullback. So when we look at SHIB and the prices here, do I think it's bullish? Yes, I still think it's bullish. I still do, and I believe the next sort of run up that we have here inside of SHIB, you're gonna end up seeing it getting up to that Fibonacci, and it's gonna be right up there at the top by this wedge pattern. And when it breaks past 2100 and breaks past that wedge pattern, the next level we're looking at is the next Fibonacci, which is 2550. So lots of good stuff going on. Now, let's just hypothetically say you want to see what your gains would be, right? You can come over here on trading view. I know my face is probably in the way here, but anyways, you just boom, pull this up here, and that would be a 85% gain. Hold up, did you hear what I just said? 85%. So that is if you bought at these prices now and you sold not at this next Fibonacci, at the top of this wedge pattern, but above that. And see, the thing is, we might get rejected at this wedge pattern. So you could also say, hey, I can either hold out for an 85% gain that is likely to happen, or you know, you can take the more safe route and the more safe approach. Let's say you do a little bit less gains, right? And you stop at the first Fibonacci. Well, then you're still looking at about 50%, 52%, give or take, inside of gains, getting in at the prices now. So it's still a fairly good amount. And I mean, just looking at the 4-hour chart here, you can actually see it does look a little bit bullish here on the 4-hour chart. I'm not gonna lie. Like the daily chart, maybe not so much, but if you look at the 4-hour chart, like we're still bullish. This is just a healthy pullback. Right here at the bottom of the MACD, it's about to curve upwards. It's about to switch into the green candlesticks, meaning that that's purchasing and more buying volume coming in. We're about to see this wave here of a MACD switch to the green candlesticks, so it's buying. And then you're also seeing the RSI. The RSI is crossed here at the bottom, ready to go back up to purchasing because people are overselling it. And now it's just getting to that oversold level. So does SHIB have momentum still? Yes, it still has momentum. Just got to be patient. This is telling us something on the daily chart, showing that it's about to stop halfway down on the RSI and go up again. You're also seeing it here. And then when we look at the 4-hour chart, we're seeing the same info. We're at the bottom on the RSI, ready to go up. We're at the bottom of the MACD, ready to switch into purchasing and buying mode, buying volume. And that's just those. You can come over here, look at the 15-minute chart. The 15-minute chart might look a little bit nastier. You can kind of see here how it's curving downwards, ready to sell off a little bit more. So there's, like I said, there is that possibility that we pull back a little bit more and then take off from there. So short term, yeah, it does look like we can pull back a little bit more. But ultimately, I think, give it a few months, I think this is actually going to run. So just give it a few months. It's usually always like this. So that's just my 2 cents on this. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. I'm going to keep you guys updated. I think SHIB is still bullish. People are talking about SHIB being dead. Like, no, I don't think SHIB is dead. It has a lot of room to go. If you actually look at the last pump where we went all the way up to 4,500, that was huge. And that was back inside of March. So just imagine if we get all the way up there now at these levels. Like, actually, let's look at that. If we got all the way up there at the levels that we are at right now, we got all the way where we were previously. Just look at the percentages here. We're looking at a 218% gain. 218% gain from where we are now to the previous area where we pumped, which was last year in March. So just let that sink in. I think that should definitely be motivation here, but you don't have to hold it for that long. You can hold it and make 50%. You can do whatever you want. Anyways, this is all I got for you all today. Hit the like button and subscribe. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. Leave a comment in the comment section. All that good stuff. And as always, I'll be back with another video.